onto the football, and welcome to the ACC, to SMU. And so Florida State gets the honors to go out there and welcome the Mustangs to the ACC. And who would have thought a few weeks ago that Florida State's going out there as a 5-point underdog against a team that just scored 66 against TCU. They did give up 42. So George, I'm envisioning that through this season of misery where just everything has been just miserable. Basically, there have been no bright spots, just watching miserable football after miserable football, that when Ja'Kai Douglas pulled in that touchdown, that was a pretty play to finally get Florida State the lead there, that maybe that was just kind of like a little bit sigh of relief or rejoicing for the first time this entire season.
Well, it's kind of like a microcosm of everything that's happened this season. Yeah, it was a beautiful play, dropped in a bucket. Like, we needed it to score. We needed just enough to win us that game. But, if you watch it back the second or third time, you see, oh, well, the running back was actually wide open on the other side. Nobody would have been, like, literally within 20 yards of him if you would have made that throw. So you can find your things, but I'm not one to look a gift horse in the mouth. Like, that was a great play. I love it. If you're going to throw those deep shots and give your wide receiver a chance, it has to be in bounds. That's been the biggest issue with his deep balls this year, whether it's been hurried or whatever the case may be. He hasn't really given his receivers a chance. We've seen him give Portier a chance, Benson a chance. They've made some plays, but particularly that ball, man, really beautiful. Lawrence Philly, the running game. There's a ton of positives. So I've got 2 or 3 questions that I'd like to ask James as the conversation goes along. But I'll give a take. I'll give a take on DJU without being too negative or anything. Like, I think he's going to get better. I think Mike got to plan his line of where you kind of throw the season out. We need to start preparing for the future. I think it's a little bit farther than maybe us as fans or even James, former players, would have liked to seen some things earlier along. I'm not sure why we didn't see the Wildcat and things of that nature. Seems like a lot of it just trying to really keep DJU comfortable and, Mike to show him his faith in him and give him a shot. Now that Alex Atkins came back, it's his first game back as a coordinator. All of a sudden, the running game works. Your right tackle, young guy, looks a lot better. All those things are positive. I just don't see how much better it can get. The ceiling just with it isn't quite there. So how much better can it get with DJU? I'm not sure, but I certainly believe he can continue to get better and will get a little bit better each and every game. But yeah, I guess that's about all I've got there.
James, before you take off on that, quick couple observations because you'll give us the important stuff. You guys would not be surprised that this was not on my list of games that I was going to catch prime time. So I do my best to watch as much as possible. But as you can imagine, there were more important games, even though I like to come to these shows prepared, having watched the games. I'll sometimes watch the cut down versions. But anyway, there was such bad football going on all over the place. In prime time, I thought, well, at least this thing's close. It was 7-6. So I watched the fourth quarter. And for one thing, I got to admit, I'm pretty protective of my prediction records. So I had Cal plus 2.5. So I wasn't too happy with them missing field goals because the 2 missed field goals meant that when they went into the red zone the final time that they needed the touchdown, they wouldn't have had to need the touchdown. The guy would have made the field goals. But anyway, it was my observation, besides the play to Ja'Kai Douglas, that was like, whew, finally, wow, they hit on a play, that the defensive line won this game because it seemed like every time Mendoza got loose, he made some plays with his feet. Pretty scrappy little quarterback, not a great player, but made some plays that the defensive line seemed to be, in my estimation, for the one quarter that I watched, the savior in this game because they were the ones that made the big sacks and the big TFLs.
Yes, guys made plays that you expected to make plays all year. Joshua Farmer came through in a big way, had a great game, showed what his worth was. Patrick Payton, 3 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss. And you also saw Marvin Jones Jr. come through with 2 sacks. Edwin Joseph, a redshirt freshman, had a game at safety, made the last key play. One of the things that they're still having struggles with is playing QB spot. as well as coverage of with the linebackers in the backfield. But the defense, as I've always said, is not the issue at Florida State. It's never been the issue at Florida State. It's just Fuller is a very easy target to go after because, again, he was not the popular coach. He wasn't the coach that everybody expected to be the DC. You had Schumann, who's at Georgia now. You have Oregon's head coach Dan Lanning, who they thought would be some of the guys that Mike would bring in. Then Mike brings in Fuller, and he doesn't have the talent, but you can see where plays could be made the entire year. And it's very interesting, how they did play, and they finally got it together a little bit. So that being said, Cal came in a little more confidence. I thought their running back, but he's been banged up. They have a running back that was really, really good that didn't get it. They had a decent game when it all got said and done, but didn't make the factor in which that they thought he would. But going back to the game, defense obviously kept them in. The defense, believe it or not, has kept them in all of these games. When you can't score over 24 points in a college football game, that's a problem. And the problem is in the lack of execution. And DJU is not playing well. So I want to make sure that's emphasized. That being said, wide receivers are dropping a lot of passes. Offensive line is tremendously banged up, and there's times where guys are getting through very, very fast. And I question some of the play calling and the utilization of the talent that's on the field, which is something that I haven't done for Mike Norvell since Mike Norvell first got there. And what I mean by that is, we saw, and a lot of people picked up on why did he throw the wheel route to Lawrence Toafili. It's a reason why he was wide open. If you go look at Hakeem Williams, literally runs right into the player that was guarding him. And had he thrown that would have been a pass interference, OPI, and we wouldn't have got the touchdown. And you also look at his eyes; he never even saw that. So his eyes shifted there. He saw the linebacker go over, so he can't stay there and watch him get open. That's what he's been doing. Takes your guy off, go to the left. You have a wide receiver that's running a corner route. With 2 steps on the DB, you throw the ball like he did. He did that earlier in the game, but it wasn't a corner. It was a post to Malik Benson. I think he overthrew. And there was also the other big play. They were able to do that as well. There were some big plays in the passing game when he throws the ball down the field. And then it's unnerving because we don't do that. Georgia Tech, when Georgia Tech scored, and Mike needed to drive right down the field. They attacked the middle of the field. They went deep, and they did it. So the potential is there. They just don't do it because they want to rely on the running game and they want to use the play action. And then there's something that I saw of DJU. It was frustrating because even on a high school level, you teach guys this. When they bring 7 and you only have 5 to block, abandon the play action. And just throw the bubble, especially when you have a three receivers to 2 DBs. He's going through the play action, and he doesn't even throw it. He ends up having to try to scramble, which he does not do well. When Mike speeds up his decisions and he just throws the ball and lets it go, it'll be good. But going back to the second drive. So the first drive of the game we score. No, excuse me. Second drive of the game we score. Third drive of the game, we go down. We're literally in position to score points, and it is a bad route combination. 3 guys within 5 yards. DJU as a senior has to throw the ball out of the back of the end zone so that we can kick the field goal. Game's 10-0 as opposed to him throwing an interception. They hit us on a big wheel route. Game 7-3. Going into the half, kick the field goal, Mike. Don't go for it on 4th and 6. With the play call that you called, you have the 2 best players on Florida State's team are the kickers. Like, use your kicker. Like, let him kick the ball, score points, or pin them back. And they don't. And those are the questionable things that I think Mike does. Mike puts the defense in precarious situations sometimes, but a win is a win. I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. And I think lose pretty is what everybody thinks Brock Glenn is going to do for us. And I'm not ready to concede the season. And I understand why Mike's not ready to concede the season. If you feel like this is the best thing, this is not the NFL. You do not get better recruiting classes by losing games. Like in the NFL, you can play the youngins. You lose more games, you get a higher draft pick. That's strategic. Free the youngins, I'm with it. Here's a very easy way to free the youngins. Know the plays. I promise you the reason why the youngins aren't playing is because when the youngins have an opportunity in practice, the youngins don't know what to do. And that is not only not going to help you win, the only thing is it's more exciting to the fan, but it's dangerous to the development as well as the other players on the field. I'm not opposed to playing them. I'm opposed to putting people out there who want to play smart and sound football. So, and I think that time is coming, but I think I can see why DJU is still in there, even though I don't agree with the product that DJU is putting out. I think it's stinky. But I also have seen Brock play. A lot of people forget about this. The most popular person on the campus is the backup quarterback. Does anybody remember Brock's first play? I do, very vividly. Tate got knocked out. He goes in, and it's a simple zone read. And what does Brock try to do? Throw the ball to the other team. Trying to make something there that wasn't there or what he was coached to do. Also, I remember Brock in the ACC championship. We needed the Wildcat to score. There is nothing that has been put on film to make us believe that Brock is going to, while Brock is faster than DJU, he's not a scrambling quarterback. He's just a guy that's faster than DJU. I'm faster than DJU right now. That doesn't make him run our system better. That's just a guy that we want to see anybody but DJU. And that's not necessarily good football, which I get it because we're not playing good football right
Yeah, I think that's the idea. At what point does it become incumbent to get the guy one drive or whatever? But I totally agree. Like, if you win, hell yeah. If you can win 2 out of the next 3 games, 4 out of the 5, 3 out of the 5, whatever the case may be, that fixes everything. That's why I and I never thought, the whole time I was like, he's going to give him a chance with Alex Atkins there. And yeah, there are a ton of positives. There's a million ways you can look at it. But while we're on this topic, because you brought it up, people were like furious with Adam Fuller's comments about the younger players. And, so what is it like? I think I know what it is. I think it's just kind of coach speak within that room, him keeping those guys kind of motivated to continue to get better and earn their spot on the roster. But, as fans or somebody who didn't play the game, I think it's pretty clear to everybody, and maybe it's just because they didn't know enough plays and didn't have them installed for Georgia Tech. Like, they had running back and linebacker wrong. Like, it was just wrong. 20 and Juice are the best 2 linebackers on this team. I mean, that's just how it is. And for some reason, like, Juice is still at the bottom, and he's still got 9 ahead of him. There's an or there now, which is, I get it. I don't understand why Adam maybe doesn't throw out a little sugar there, but here's what I'm going to say. Adam Fuller's team kicked butt. Like, the defense, people try to minimize it, even people on my show, Jen, like, it's just Cal, but no, you hold any team to 9 points, do what that defense did in the red zone. Those guys play with their hair on fire. If they play like that the rest of the year, we're going to have a chance to win almost every game we play. And to the quarterback, yeah, I agree everything James said, but he brought up the Wildcat. My question is, like, with everything going as bad, like, well, how come we didn't even see the Wildcat? Because we saw that at an elite level with LT. Like, that was way better than anything we saw from Brock. I mean, it was unstoppable. And Louisville's defense, way better than anything we've seen this year. So, like, we still got all the same offensive linemen. Why the hell? And I know you probably know more than me about the situation about why LT wasn't on the field. It's just, here's a guy that has been there for all this time. We've seen him do it at the highest level, but he wasn't getting the ball. Now all of a sudden he gets the ball, and now he's 30 carries for 150 yards. To the rest of the team, 80-something carries for like 96 or 106 yards total. It's like, why wouldn't he get in the ball? Like, why can't we put Juice and Blake up to the starting line? We see the snaps. They're getting the most snaps. Nine's only getting 6-7 snaps a game, but he's still up there. So I think that's the thing people want to see, but that's just a little thing. It doesn't really matter. I think within the team, you're probably to tell everybody, like, they know what the deal is.
I mean, that's where I was like, so Juice still hurt? I know that was one of the things, or not Juice, excuse me, Juice is playing. Murphy's hurt, but I'm with you on that. I think some of the guys they're trying to like you figured they were supposed to do something. Have you heard the SMU? Have you heard what Rhett Lashley said? Rhett Lashley said probably one of the craziest things, and he says they didn't get it wrong. This is a talented team. They just don't have it figured out yet. And when they get it figured out, I think it's going to be scary. Basically, I think Rhett was saying, I hope they don't figure it out against me. My goal is right now to not be the guy that they all come together with. And he spoke very highly about the defense and how aggressive they are and how fast they are. And I get it. But a lot of these things, I do believe. So actually, Mark, you got this put it up right here. I personally thought Roy Dale was different than what he is. I don't think Roydale's hurt now. He doesn't need to be getting the ball. It needs to be Todd Philly, Cam Davis, and Jalen Lucas is out for the year anyway. Sam Singleton did give I thought he ran more than 2 times. That's crazy. But Sam Singleton gives you something. And personally, I think if the wide receivers aren't going to give you what you need to get, you need to go get the kid from my high school. You need to go ahead and get him out there. In Makai, this is not Makai. Makai Danzy. You need to get him out there. He's got elite track speed. You've got to be able to get people that can get in space if you're going to put people out there. One of the things too, if you listen to what Farmer said, is they really went back and they scaled down a lot of the different things that they do on defense. And they played a lot more of the things that the guys are comfortable with. And instead of doing a lot of stunts and a lot of twists, they just said, go get the ball and let those guys play. So when you're not – football is one of them sports where you got to be smart, but you can't think. It's got to be instinctual. And I think that's where they've got to get back to. And just it's so bad. The receiving yardage, it's not good at all.
One question while you're looking at the receivers. This is something that I thought about earlier. I think we had a conversation about it. They had at the Z, they had Dwayne McCoy, Elijah Moore, and Darion Williamson. And at the X, they had Hakeem, Portier, and Malik. And anybody looking at that looks like, okay, here's your 3 best receivers on the team with the most potential, most size, all these things. How come you got all them on one side? And a guy who's just never stood up on the other side and a couple freshmen. Now on this latest depth chart, I was happy to see they split them up. Now Hakeem was injured for a couple games, but now they've got Hakeem and Portier at the X, Malik Benson at the Z. Seems like it fits a lot better. I know you've seen more all 22 tape. Have they had it split out and that's just kind of thing how it was on paper? Or
I think it's just how
is that going to be better moving forward?
I think that's just how it is on paper. And a lot of us look at this like just because they have you listed as X doesn't mean you can't play Z. It doesn't mean you can't play Y. That's just where your main position is. That's where they want you to be. But a lot of these guys play multiple positions at wide receivers. It's not like the video game where you just put the 3 guys there, or your top 3 guys go in, or your top 4 guys go. They've got packages where they may want to be tall, so you'll probably see Keem, Benson, and Deuce out there. You got packages where they just need to get Ja'Kai out there because Ja'Kai's proven to be your best wide receiver right now, which is good for him, troubling at best for everyone else. But Ja'Kai did make some plays this game, especially coming off of when I had to really, really get on him. I felt so bad picking on him from last game because he completely whiffed on a block against Memphis. But these guys. They're scrambling for somebody to make a play. And what stinks and having been on that sideline for 2 of the games, for Memphis as well as Boston College, is you're sitting around watching guys not really have the fire and hoping knowing somebody's going to make the play, but not deciding that I'm going to be the guy to make the play. And I think the closest we got to that was what you said, Mark, when you were watching the game and we saw Ja'Kai Douglas run that corner route. I'm going to make a play. I'm going to will with this team. And that's really when people talk about leadership and the cliches and a lot of the different things of that nature, that's really what you mean. Who is the guy that's going to say, man, bump all of this. I want the ball. I'm going to do this. And the championship teams, when guys getting guys like Peter Warwick and Ron Dugans and Lavernius Coles and guys like that, when those guys were at wide receiver, they were all like, I'm going to run so fast that I'm going to make them have to throw me the ball. And they were like, no, I'm not going. If I'm lazy on my route, then that means he's going to eat for me. And they all competed and helped each other. And then the guys who were, and then they cut, like Pete would say things like, I'd cuss the young guys out. He's like, why? Because they're not making me better by making me have to be on my game. He's like, I need you to know what the F you're doing so that I have somebody to push me. And I think that's the biggest thing, that they're missing. And it's most teams get it from the quarterback. And before I just throw DJ under the bus, it wasn't like Jay Trav was this very vocal, outspoken person. You had guys like Trey Benson. You had guys like Keon, who wasn't a leader per se, but very vocal about getting the ball. You had other people that were willing to be the alpha. I hate to use that term, but like right now, DJ, you don't got no speed in the game, and nobody else has that. And that's the troubling part in all of this is when I'm watching from the sideline or when I'm watching at home, I don't know who's the guy that's just fed up with this. Somebody's got to be fed up. It has to go out there and change the dynamic of the game and be the person who creates the identity. And that's really what they don't have. This team is really lacking identity right now.
It feels like we actually found that on defense. You saw like a preview of it in the Memphis game. See that in the Cal game. Like, man, you talk about Edwin Joseph and Quindarius Jones, what they brought at practice that entire week. Like, it was infectious, and you saw it out there. Talk about taking over and just making a decision. Quindarius Jones getting targeted first down, second down, third down, and just completely shut that down coming on the field for Fentrell or whoever it was, and they decided to target him. Like, man, that was a beautiful thing to see. We talked about it, in practice. How did they get it wrong? I kind of joked to Chris. I don't think I cracked this joke to you yet, but it's like, I think what happened is you had Deuce and Blake. Here's your backup linebackers. They're going against the backups on offense, and LT is a tailback for whatever reason is getting less carries. So that's who they're playing against in practice. So the backups are making the backup offense look bad, and the starting offense was making the starting offense look good. That's my theory on how that was so messed up. But no, hopefully Roydell gets healthy. I was a big fan of him too. He wasn't breaking the tackles and doing things at a high level. He might have been nicked up. We talk about Farmer, him coming out and saying he was in a cast. We knew he had that surgery. I didn't realize he was in a full cast until the Memphis game. He takes that thing off. He looks completely different. Like, there's a ton of stuff there. Like, if Rodemaker is if he catches 4 balls, who knows how different people look at DJU in the kind of critical situations. So, I'm Morlock. I keep calling him Rodemaker or stuff. I don't like. I'm sorry, buddy. Maybe make a few more plays. I'll stop doing that.
More drops.
More drops.
Again, that's the real part. Like, everybody's like, DJU sucks. Get a new quarterback in, and he does. And he'll do something crazy. But then you'll be like, oh man, that was a pretty, and he dropped it. Oh, there's nobody running the right route. And then, he's about to drop back, and the left tackle just says, bump it. He did the lookout block. So again, it's a lot of different pieces. And again, you can make the switch, but like, I don't really know. I just don't know where making the switch just all of a sudden makes people just wake up and say, you know what, this. But sometimes, people, they missed it. They missed in the transfer portal this year, and that's clear. And the cool thing is, it's not like the NFL. You don't have 3-4 year deals. You have 1-year deals, and guys can. Again, everybody loves to say that guys quit, and they just believe that players are just entering the transfer portal because they don't want to compete. The reality is, a lot of these guys are being asked to go to the transfer portal, unless you're at UNLV, and that's a completely weird situation that's going on. I have no idea what's going on with that, but every year you're going to probably lose 20 to 30 guys between seniors leaving and people hitting the portal. So you have the opportunity to be able to replenish your talent through high school and through the transfer portal. So they just got to, hunker down and decide, hey, Mike's getting paid $10 million this year, regardless. Your position coach is going to get paid $500,000 or more. Do you want to get paid? Because at the end of the day, the only person that you're making look bad is yourself when you don't perform. And this is what I always come back to. I have tremendous respect for Jeff Bowden as a man. I like Jeff Bowden. He was not a competent offensive coordinator. He put us in some very precarious positions, but we made him look good because at the end of the day, he was getting paid. I wanted to go to the NFL. He was a coach. I have to make him look good in order for me to get to where I'm at. And when people talk about culture, that's really all culture is you got a bunch of guys that are every offensive play is designed to score. Every defensive play is designed to stop the offense from scoring. And at a certain point, you have to make up in your mind, I'm going to win my one-on-one battle. And I got to whoop somebody. And they could get that, but who knows? I like Mike. Mike's a winner. Mike's not going to make a lot of excuses for this BS. And I also like the guys that he's recruited. I wish our beat could get their heads out their butt and stop trying to be fatalistic and asking when the guys are going to dump. But I've seen how some of them look. They've never been the type of guy to get the baddest women. They're looking to get dumped. And sometimes when you get a prize, you're like, when are you going to leave me so that the hurt doesn't feel as bad? When you are the prize, you just say, if I can't get you, I'll get another one. And that's the mentality that we need our fan base and our guys to take.
This Mike Myrick banner has been in every show forever. So, Mike, we always appreciate you dropping the same line and your support for the voice of college football and Florida State football and all of us here. Yeah, I got to say that I think it's no big surprise DJ's been pretty lousy, but at the same time, he's got to be, I don't know if he's shaking his head or wanting to slam his head against a locker or something, because it looks very close to what he had around him at Clemson in the 2 years he was there, which had to be a shock to him because when he had the two starts against Boston College and Notre Dame and relieving Sunshine, he had the NFL receivers and the protection, and he looked phenomenal. Lit up Notre Dame, more than 400 yards, the most passing yards ever in that stadium. And then he's the starter the next year, and it's like, I didn't recognize his Clemson wide receiver room the next year. It was like they fell off the cliff. And again, he wasn't great, no doubt, but he had a rough couple of years at Clemson, mainly because their wide receiver play just went from dudes that were just freaks, high pointing the football left and right, fighting off defenders, plucking everything out of the air, to dudes that couldn't even catch it when they were wide open. It was a drastic fall off, and it seems like he's suffering the same thing here.
One thing that was funny too about watching DJU, so 2021, DJU looked awful, right? And he was awful. And when I'm going back and I'm looking at the stats against Florida State too, but there were times where he looked like a damn Heisman Trophy candidate. And he was playing off of Will Shipley, who had over 130 yards, if I remember correctly. And DJ was 19 for 31, one touchdown, one interception. But he was making completions that we needed. Not that we needed, that Clemson needed. And I think what we don't need, and we've never needed, which it would be great if he was, but he's not that. We don't need him to be Cam Ward. You just needed him to be what he was. And I think people are confusing that with saying DJU is good. No, DJU needs to be a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio guy. He is definitely not that right now. I think he might be a 1-to-2 at this point. I think he's only thrown one touchdown, if I believe. Maybe it's two. No, it's 2 or 3 touchdowns. But right now, he's not even as good as his worst that he was at before he came to Florida State. So they've got to find that, and who knows? I'm with Rhett Lashley. He may wake up and say, you know what? I feel like winning today. And if he does that, then it'd be good.
2-to-3 is the TD to pick ratio.
That is not sexy.
No.
At all. Some of the and then one of the interceptions, I will say, one of the interceptions was at the half against Memphis, and then the one that was really, really bad against I know you shouldn't talk about something.
Soda?
No.
Got some more analysts on here tonight.
Drink some water, you can get some soda with food. Go.
Oh, the food is not coming.
It's coming, son. Relax. Sorry about that.
You're good.
But nah, it's just again, that's where I think if DJU is who he was and that defense plays to where it was at, I think you see again the playoffs talk was because all you need to do is win the ACC. The defense played well enough for you to beat Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech beat you on the last second field goal. Memphis beat you on the last second field goal. Believe it or not, 6 minutes into the Boston, 6 minutes left, 8 minutes left in the Boston College game, you still had your chances. Your defense, your defense had opportunities. Your offense couldn't stay on the field. You just need to be what he was. And things could turn around for you. Doesn't mean you're going to the college football playoff because that's all but like you need to win and a lot of good stuff has to happen. But you can go out and still make a bowl game, a respectable bowl game, and let people see what you can do. I'm not going to be one of those guys that are going to like it looks bad. There's no need to over exaggerate or make it worse than what it is. I'm not going to troll my own fan. I'm not going to troll my own alma mater just to try to make it feel better. But there are things that there are things that should look better. And maybe also Alex Atkins is way more important than what people gave him credit for, which I like Mike, but you can't just say all the good things. One of the problems with our fan base is when things go bad, Mike gets a little blame. When things go good, Mike gets all the credit. You got to make sure we spread that thing even a little bit. Like, give credit to where credit is due for blame and good stuff.
Yeah, that drives me nuts, man. Like, I get there's no way to, was it 50%? Is it 20%? Is it 100%? How much is the offense better now that Alex Atkins is there? Oh, well, since he doesn't call plays, and that's the reason most people want to minimize it or ask questions. Well, he doesn't call plays. What difference does it make? Well, like, if Alex Atkins isn't there, everybody else is moved up another peg. A guy who makes $125,000 a year is all of a sudden playing the role of a guy who makes $2 million a year, or whatever the case may be. Alex Atkins has been known as this kind of hot shot, next up and coming. His next spot after he leaves FSU is going to be a head coaching job. Like, he's Mike's right hand guy who's he put all his faith into to help him with his offense, and he's the offensive line coach as well. So it's like, obviously that's huge. I think you saw that. His ability to be able to just, watch the offensive line, work on guys, talk to them, they get the sidelines, fix the rotation, provide comfort, whatever the case may be. It was there. And I think just to touch back on DJU, I think the 3-to-1 touchdown ratio guy is in there somewhere. But what's holding that back is just like the mental, like the classic term is blown up or whatever when you send a guy out there too early or has bad issues in his career at Clemson. But we've seen him be able to operate at a pretty good level at Oregon State under the right circumstances. I think, it just didn't come together. We had a lot of adversity early. And I don't know, you saw some very positives as far as him getting it together, not having that fear in the pocket or, being a step slow or a second late, firing the ball out. I have faith it's going to get better. And yeah, it is kind of weird how everybody knows Mike isn't getting fired this year. He's got the giant contract. He's safe a couple years. So they kind of go balls out on the offensive coaches and everybody else to that nature. But I trust Mike. I think one thing I'll say for Mike, he's not going to be moved by anything the media or the outside says. Whatever he thinks best for the football team, for these players, etc. As crazy as it might look to me or anybody else, he is trying to do the best thing for the coaches and the players on the team. So can't wait. I think there's a good chance you see this year end like 2021. The scary part is that DJU, and this is what motivates a lot of the fear and the things from people, is he's not going to be here next year. So it's like, if you pull it together and get it all done like 2021, well, there was Jordan Travis at the end of that rainbow to lead a campaign in 2022. The hope is that you can have a Brock Glenn or whoever else at the end of this get ready. So it's like, if we're going to lose games, let's try to get the dude ready, So I understand that, but I'm also totally understanding that that's not the solution to just put a guy who obviously has been worse in practice to just elevate him. So I don't know if that's playing both sides or whatever, but yeah, I'm kind of right there in the middle.